With Memorial Day behind us and the school year coming to a close, we find ourselves unofficially in summer. Pin up in the house, kids and parents alike are probably yearning for one particular summer tradition: summer camp. That's right, it's the first episode in our brand new Summertime Fun Time series. Pack your bags, slap on some bug spray, and get ready for some ghost stories. This is Wayback Attack.
Welcome to Wayback Attack. My name is Brian Grantham. Sitting across from me in cyberspace, as always, is Preston Burt. Preston, are you ready with some s'mores action?
I don't even know how to respond to that, but if you had s'mores in front of me, I would eat a plate right now. I would devour them. Are you a burn to a crisp marshmallow man, or are you just like a lightly toasted kind of marshmallow guy?
I want that marshmallow to be no more than golden brown. I cannot stand anything that is burned. Like, I hate like Cajun style chicken or anything like that. Like, if it has like any kind of like an excessive amount of char on it or anything like that, it's not for me. I just can't
see, my wife relishes the char, and I'm just like, I just want like a browning, and if it has maybe a little bit, it's good. But no, I don't want to taste nothing but carbon. I want to taste the good stuff, man. And I'm also pretty particular when it comes to s'mores about the amount of chocolate.
Yeah.
Like, I just want two, if you're going like a perfect square graham cracker, I just want two little Hershey rectangles. I don't want the whole bar. I don't want like the thick ones. I want the chocolate to be smooth and melted. It's very important.
Yeah. My girlfriend actually made s'mores cupcakes today, and basically,
I bet that's good.
Yeah, it has you make like a graham cracker crust basically, and then put the chocolate cupcake batter, and then after it's done baking, you'd like just turn on the broiler, put the marshmallows on top, and turn on the broiler for a little bit for them to like melt, and it's pretty dope. I gotta tell you,
that is cool, man. We have a frozen yogurt chain around here called Menchie's, and they have a flavor that's toasted marshmallow, and I don't know how they're able to capture the flavor, but it is spot on, like campfire marshmallow. It is so good if you like marshmallow.
Well, you gotta think it's like Jelly Bellies. Like Jelly Bellies, I don't know how they do it, especially with like buttered popcorn, but they have a toasted marshmallow flavor also, and it's weird how that stuff tastes the way it does.
Yeah. Well, so we're not talking about food today. We are talking about going to camp. We'll get into that a little bit, but I mentioned at the top of the show that we're starting our Summertime Fun Time series. So with it being summertime, thought we might do some special shows themed around the topic. So coming up, we may have some shows that are about going to a water park, or shows that deal with special summertime toys like super soakers and grenade water balloons. Those are some fun topics. We got some things up our sleeves, so hope you stick around and check us out every week. We'll be trying to come to you weekly, live here on Twitch, and then recorded for the podcast and YouTube on Wednesdays. So this kicks off our official Twitch Tuesdays at 10. So thanks for joining us right here at 10. I love the alliteration, so...
Yeah, I imagine that you always wanted to be a writer at Marvel growing up, and you're like, man, all these names, all the alliteration.
Excelsior!
That's what I did with my family. My kids are illiterate, like alliteration with their first and their middle name.
I thought you said your kids are illiterate.
That too.
I'm like, well, you got to work on that, bro.
Even my second daughter, she it's not the same letter, but it's the same sound, so it's okay.
Gotcha. Yeah. Makes it easy to remember, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Wednesdays, it times out for Wayback Wednesdays. That's already a thing on social media. So remember, you can get your podcast and your YouTube Wayback Wednesdays for Wayback Attack. So, man.
Is it already a thing? I thought it was Throwback Thursday.
So look, there's Wayback Wednesday, Throwback Thursday, Flashback Friday, I'm trying to make Memory Monday work. I don't know if
Okay.
it's a thing or not. I cannot think of anything for Tuesday that's like whatever.
Tubular
Just like,
Tuesday, and it's just
but
80s stuff.
that doesn't connotate anything other than how lame we are.
When
Ah,
when I was living in Valdosta at one point, Hungry Howie's had a Tuesday deal where it was like a couple bucks for a pepperoni pizza, and so I would call them and be like, "Hey, you guys doing that Tubular Tuesday deal?" And the guy would be like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "The pepperoni pizza." He's like, "Oh yeah, pepperoni is tubular." So if you live in
man,
Valdosta and they started calling it that, that's me. I started that.
what's that place called?
Hungry Howie's. You never had that pizza?
No, is that a chain?
Yeah. It's kind of like Little Caesars, like, but they had like
Uh,
cheap pizzas. Man, that back in the day, like, because that was the same time period that McDonald's had those like 29-cent hamburgers and 39-cent cheeseburgers. And me and my friends, we used to go. I don't remember. It was like Wednesdays or something, but we would go and buy like 30 of them and then stock the fridge up with burgers. And then like throughout the week, if you got hungry, you just threw it in the microwave for like 20 seconds.
that's crazy. That's crazy. Well, are you ready to talk a little bit about camping? Well,
I
not
am.
camping, going to camp. That's two
Yes.
different things.
Uh huh.
Okay. Um, are you a fan though of actual camping?
No, not at all.
I hate it. I hate it. I envy the people that, love doing that outdoorsy type thing, but give me the creature comforts of home any day
Mhm.
of the week over roughing it on a cold, hard, wet tent floor.
Yeah.
No way.
Like the thing with me is like there's nothing to do, and it's uncomfortable, and there's bugs everywhere, and man, like
Yes.
my family has like a cabin in North Carolina. And my dad's like, you should go to the cabin. You should go hang out. And I'm like, there's nothing to do there. I hate going there. Like, I'm so bored. There's no internet and there's nothing. And they don't have like cable TV or anything. So,
Well, I appreciate going to a cabin, whether it's uh, a cabin in the woods is a little different, but we have a lot of people who have like a vacation. We have friends who have like a vacation cabin or something,
mhm.
and those are fun to me because they have electricity,
Yeah.
and they may not have Wi-Fi, but like we went to visit a friend one time, and they had old school technology, so they only had VHS tapes to watch. They only had Super Nintendo to play, so it was kind of fun to go old school, and go out on the back deck and build a fire out there, and that's fun. But then to be able to go and sleep in a real bed, I
Right.
think that's the key for me, is sleeping in a real bed. But
Yeah.
our topic for today is, of course, going to camp.
Yes.
Have you ever gone to camp as a
Dude.
kid?
So I've done multiple different types of camps. I've done, the YMCA day camp, like your parents are working during the summer, and so you go to the Y
That doesn't
during
count.
the day.
Doesn't count.
I have also been to like the classic style camp stuff, but generally speaking, it's not for an extended amount of time. It was usually for like a week. It was like a church retreat or something like that, but you stayed in cabins. And man, that kind of camping stuff was great. Like, I loved it. But I fight back on you for saying that the YMCA day camp stuff is not real, because I had so many experiences during that stuff that I think most people probably have during like their summer camp stuff. Like, I learned how to
But
open my eyes underwater to kiss a girl. She taught me how to do that, and stuff like that. So
wow.
yeah.
But those are at the Y, right? You're not like in nature.
Hey man, there's a pool.
Well,
There's a
you were
basketball
naughty
court.
by nature,
Yeah.
but so bad. So
Have you
bad.
ever been camping or to camp?
So I have been to camp, but like in limited capacity. So there was like a church camp that was like a weekend deal
Hmm.
for RAs, like which is called Royal Ambassadors for the church that I went to, and so it was at like an actual summer camp type place where they had wooden cabins with no electricity, and they had, just like no air conditioning, of course.
Hmm.
And that was cool, I guess, but it's still just, I'm just not that kind of guy. I will say though, that I always wanted to go to like a legit camp. I
Hmm.
always wanted to go away for the summer for like a week or two, because I never did get to do that, but I would always watch these movies, right? My first movie, I say that really, my first exposure to the ideal camp was actually Parent Trap.
Yes.
You ever watch Parent Trap?
Yeah, with starring Haley Mills and Haley Mills.
That's right. I wish we had a clip ready for that. But no, that, like, I know it's from the 60s or whatever, but that was the image burned into mind of like what a camp should be like. We're playing pranks on each other and, you know, having fun, like canoeing activities or archery or whatever they were picturing back then. But I just never got to do all that stuff. And but a lot of folks do. But for those who can't, there are movies and TV shows to fulfill your innermost desires. So let's talk about a first one right now.
Hey, Vern, with a wave of my magic wand, I can make your fondest Braves dreams come true. Presto changio.
Hey, Braves fans, Friday, May 18th is U.S. Army Team Poster Night. The first 15,000 fans with a reserved seat ticket will receive an Atlanta Braves team poster, compliments of the U.S. Army. So visit the Braves-Pirates game on May 18th at 7:40 and get your official team poster.
So you see, Vern, your dreams can come true. The home team, know what I mean?
All right, so that probably wasn't what you were expecting for a going to camp clip, but there's a reason for that. Okay, so my first pick is actually Ernest Goes to Camp. But I wanted to show that clip and share that with our listeners because that's how Ernest started off. Ernest P. Worrell was a local or a regional commercial ad man. He just did any kind of product. And it was so popular that started doing tons more and then got a movie deal. And then we got graced with the blessing that is Ernest Goes to Camp. And I wanted to pick Ernest Goes to Camp first because, like Parent Trap, it was what, like, the quintessential vision of what a camp should be was ingrained in my mind because of Ernest Goes to Camp. Tell me your thoughts about Ernest Goes to Camp.
I would say it is definitely one of the best Ernest movies, right? And
what,
you know,
pop quiz? How many Ernest movies are there?
I'm trying to remember from when I talked about how great Saves Christmas was. I don't remember.
There are 9 Ernest movies. I'm not going to go through them now. And obviously we've talked about Ernest Saves Christmas. So we are not just the Ernest podcast show, but it is a good movie. And we're talking about camp and we had to talk about this. So tell me more.
So the so it is, like you said, like your classic classic vision of what a summer camp is, you know, like and like a classic story of from that time period where, you know, it's like the kids gotta save the thing, right? You know, and so you know, you have in the situation, it's the summer camp and they're having issues and Ernest has to save the day in order to save the camp for the kids in the future because he wants to be the best camp counselor that he can be.
So something that you kind of forget when you think about Ernest Goes to Camp in your mind is that the camp was actually, well, his crew anyway, was a camp for delinquents. So his particular charges, they were troublemakers, hooligans. I think they had a switchblade on them. I mean, these were supposedly some really, really rough kids, and they were going to camp to get straightened out, which is you know, kind of a common thing. One that we talked about, but it's a little too late for our genre of show, was the movie Holes, which is based on a book by Louis Sachar, which was a camp where they sent kids who were juvenile delinquents as well, and they made them do manual labor and stuff. So wasn't quite as bad here at Ernest Camp, but I picked this one, like I said, because of the quintessential nature of it all, but also because this movie had some really, really good songs. Not only did they utilize some existing songs like "So Happy Together" by the Turtles and other things. But there was a time period of movies where they had great songs that didn't get radio play, but like "The Best Around," "You're the Best" from Karate Kid, or I'm trying to think of others that were just like, they're not top 40 hits, but they really, really hit a vibe. And I got to say, Gary Chapman, his song "Brave Hearts," it still rocks. Like if you were to listen to that today, put it on YouTube, rock out to that, it would be really good. Do you have a little bit of that go on, Brian?
I do. Let's see.
This is swell. This is the best get well present I ever had. Know what I mean?
So this is great. The song or the music video for the song. Let me turn it down just a little bit.
Oh yeah, you got to turn that down. We're gonna get killed on YouTube for that.
But this song, it's great too because this particular. Oh, that's funny. It did save the ads. Well, now I know that I need to do something different next time. So this I always love it when you have the music video that shows like scenes from the movie. I like it even more though when like the lead singer is like a part of the he interacts with the movie in some way, or the cast from the movie. So
yeah, I feel like this one is probably a fan-made music video. I don't think there really was a music video. But this is really good. It rocks. You can kill it now.
Okay.
Yeah, we're trying to mess around with YouTube, and they haven't been too kind to some of our songs and stuff we've been playing in the background. So, hey, we're doing this live on the fly. We got levels to check, and this is fun. So, but did you see those guys in there? The comic relief.
Yes.
I forget their names, but man, those guys were great. They were also in Ernest Saves Christmas, but
yeah,
in this one they were the cafeteria workers.
I think they have some part usually in every Ernest movie, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So not only do you have Brave Hearts by Gary Chapman, but you also have the very, very sad and somber song, "Gee, I'm Glad It's Raining." And you can go ahead and play that in the background if you want, Brian, because it's one of those songs that you put on when you want to feel sad, or like when you want to embrace the suck. I recently had to cancel a convention that we were going to have for Southern Fried Gaming Expo. And man, that day that we sent out that release that we were canceling, boy, I literally turned the song on. I was just like wallowing in it. It was so sad and pitiful and pathetic. But so rumor has it that Jim Varney, who plays Ernest, sang this in one take, and everyone who was in the studio was affected by the somber nature of the song. So I don't know how true that is. I like to think it's true, but it's a good one.
It's got to be true. And the way that happens is the artist is really feeling it at the time. So a long time ago, I was in a band, and I didn't really play bass very well because I didn't play it before I joined the band. I just did it to help them. But when we were recording a song, there was one song that we did that I really liked, and I nailed it in one take, and everyone was shocked because I actually like that song a lot. And so I feel it. I understand how he would be able to hit this song in one take.
Yeah, it's a good one. All right, so the only thing I'll leave you with that is an interesting fact, because there is a lot of interesting facts you can look on IMDb or whatever, but the guy who plays the old Native American man went by the name of Iron Eyes Cody. And what's interesting about Iron Eyes Cody is not only that he was the famous crying Indian from that environmental ad in the 70s, but he's actually not an Indian at all. He's an Italian-American guy who just, I guess, got a really, really dark tan and decided to get booked as an Indian. And he certainly did. He was on the Hollywood Walk of Fame for his roles in like Westerns and stuff. And but not actually an Indian, which is pretty interesting. It was his last movie, and which was in 1987. He passed away in 99. His real name is Espera Oscar de Corti. So not a very Native American name.
You have to go like that when you say it.
I don't want to do that.
You have to do the Italian hand.
Okay. So that's all I've got for Ernest Goes to Camp. Any final thoughts on Ernest?
I think, it is a classic summer extravaganza. You see all the tropes from like 80s kids hijinks movies, summer camp movies. I think that, it's not just like one of the best Ernest movies, but I think that that Ernest Goes to Camp is actually probably one of the best summer camp movies also. So, but
Totally.
I will say, in my heart, this one is out of this world.
Stand by for main engine test.
She's all yours.
4, 3, 2, go for main engine test. We have main engine test. We have overheat on booster B.
What does that mean?
We can't stop it. Booster B is near ignition. It's gonna light. Get that thing operational.
Go for launch! Now!
We're not authorized. Light it or they're gonna die.
What's happening?
Do it now. Light it.
An impossible mistake launched them into space. The adventure of their lives will be getting back home. Space Camp.
Space Camp, man. I love this movie when I was a kid. And it's so funny to me because one of the biggest parts as a kid is the awesome robot that is in this movie. And he's not in the regular trailer. And then this was like the home video trailer for it. And he's not in that one either. And he has a huge part in the movie. And he's like the thing to get kids into it. And he's not even there. What do you think about Space Camp?
What year was this movie?
Oh, man. 86, I think. I'm pretty sure it was 86.
So this was, a time that was really big for the space program, partly because of tragedy, with the Challenger explosion being right around this time.
Well, so that's kind of crazy because all those shots of that space shuttle was the Challenger. All those shots in the movie of the space shuttle flying was test flights for the Challenger, and then the movie was completed, and then the Challenger the Challenger tragedy happened. It was like 6 months before the movie came out. And so, like, in between them shooting and then the movie releasing, the Challenger tragedy happened. So,
oh man, so it was definitely an appealing movie to me, but I admitted to you earlier, this one, as much as people love it, it's just not my jam. It's not my jam. Now, that's not to say that I wouldn't really dig to go to Space Camp, but the movie Space Camp was not mine. I really, 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 really was jealous of all those kids who, at the end of game shows, got to win a trip to Space Camp, and I would have loved to do that.
Yeah,
but I don't know why the movie didn't work for me.
I had in 7th grade, we went on a field trip to Orlando, and we went to the Kennedy Space Center, which this movie was the Space Camp portion of this movie was shot on location in Huntsville at actual Space Camp, but the Challenger stuff was all shot at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. And man, it was so cool going there, and like you get to go to like mission control and like do all this stuff. But we had some lecture from some guy, and I could not tell you what this lecture was about, but he talked like Pauly Shore. And it was like he had a very dry voice, like if you think of like the teacher from Ferris Bueller was Ben Stein. But he would be like, and the liquid nitrogen. He would end every sentence like that, and it was crazy. And so like me and my friends were sitting in the back like laughing about it and cracking up, and like there was like a cool teacher near us, and she was laughing with us. But yeah, Kennedy Space Center is amazing. Space Camp is amazing. This movie, though, so there's some crazy things about this movie. This movie was ABC Movies, like, so the broadcast channel. They had a movie production studio like in the 60s, and then in the 70s, I think it was like 72, they stopped making movies. They stopped it. And then in I think it was 78 was when Fox reached out to them and they said, hey, we'll distribute your movies if you want to start making them again. So in 78, they started making them again, and Fox would distribute the movies. And this movie, Space Camp, was the last movie that ABC Movies made because it flopped so bad. It had like a $20-ish million budget, and it only pulled in $10 million at the box office because of the Challenger. Well, people say it's because of the Challenger disaster. And I think, I can't remember which is which, but I think it was Roger Ebert. He, like, when the movie came out, like, that was part of his review for it, was that this movie was doomed from the start because of it being so closely tied to the space program. So
I'm trying to be more aware of our audience. Give me a little bit of the plot. What happened in this movie?
Okay, so
why did you like it so much?
Well, so when I was a kid, I loved space. It was like the things that I was really into was really strange because I was really into dinosaurs, but then I was also really into space. And actually, as I got older, I was still that way. And so like when I was a kid, when I started getting tattoos, like I wanted one to be like old time stuff and the one to be space stuff. So, but anyways, so the story is, you have the space camp that is going on every year, and then a group of kids. You're just following basically a group of kids that join it. You have a kid that played by Tate Donovan, who is like kind of the bad boy. He doesn't really want to be there, but his dad made him go and gave him a Jeep if he went to space camp for the summer. And Tate Donovan, you'll know him as the voice of Hercules in Disney's animated picture and stuff like that. You had Joaquin Phoenix as a little boy. I think he was 11 when they shot this movie, and he actually at that time in his life would go by Leaf Phoenix instead of Joaquin Phoenix. But he was the like nephew of Tom Skerritt and Kate Capshaw's characters. Like they're married, and it's her nephew, and so you have Tom Skerritt, Kate Capshaw. They're both astronauts. They're like instructors for space camp. I already named some of the kids that are in it. You got Leah Thompson from Back to the Future. She's one of the kids in it. She wants to be like the first female space mission commander. You have Larry B. Scott from the Nerds movies. He's
oh right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He was Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah.
Oh, what's the character's name? Anyway,
I don't remember.
You would recognize it.
But he loves science, but he's always really bad at it. And so he went to space camp so that he can try to become better at science. And then you have Kelly Preston from Twins and the 80s movie Mischief. And she is like, she's like a Valley girl and really into fashion, but she loves science and she has like a photographic memory. And so she's very good at that kind of stuff because if she reads a book, she retains all that knowledge. And so it's just like this mad cast of kids that, and like, they don't work together as a team. And it's really like a team building movie. They don't work together as a team. Joaquin Phoenix's character is friends with this robot that NASA developed for space missions to help astronauts out. But because his circuits get messed up during launch, they never use them, so he just hangs out in the space center, and he gets messed up, and Joaquin Phoenix puts it back together, and Frank Welker plays the voice of him, and he is like, I'm best friends with this kid, and the kid says, I want to go to space, and so he sabotages this mission so that the space shuttle will actually shoot into space so that the kid can go to space, and then he plays a significant role in them getting back from space. But it's an awesome movie.
So so not to be too down on you, but I would say if you're going to be a pitch man,
yes,
for Hollywood, you might want to tighten up the synopsis a little bit.
I think it was perfect. It was perfect.
For those who couldn't follow along with anything Brian was saying, let me read to you the synopsis that I pulled up on Google. It says, Andy Bergstrom, an astronaut eagerly awaiting her first trip to space, runs a summer camp for teenagers with her NASA-employed husband, Zach. One night during an engine test, Andy and 4 teenage campers are accidentally shot into space. Together, the group, which includes Catherine, a pilot in training, and Tish, a ditz with a perfect memory, they must work together to operate the spacecraft and return home. There you go.
Where's the robot? They don't even talk about the robot in that.
No love for the robot anywhere.
So one of the great things about this movie is the score, and they got John Williams to do the score for it. And then there's also some other song, like actual songs. Like I think that there's like a Genesis song or a Peter Gabriel song in it. But they got John Williams to do the score. So I'm sure that's part of the $20 million budget. But it's cool too, because when they were filming the movie, they actually had a different ending than what is in the movie. Hey, spoiler alert. I'm going to spoil this 1986 movie that nobody probably wants to see. So the kids they wind up getting shot into space. There's a bunch of dangerous things that happen while they're in space, but you know what? They make it back to space all right. And they land someplace on Earth, and everything turns out as a happy ending. But there's a couple points in the movie.
Shocker.
I know. Can't believe it. There's a couple points in the movie where like there's like some offhanded comments, like Tom Skerritt is like talking to his wife and he's like, these are all American kids. And then there's some other point where someone says you're going to start a Cold War or something like that. Or like, and
very
the
80s.
reason, yeah, the reason for it is the original ending to the movie that had the kids, all the stuff happened where they got up in space, and then a Russian space camp shot other kids up into space, and they helped get the other kids back down to Earth, and it did not test well at all, and so they changed it to where the American kids did everything. So
wow, can you imagine?
It was very forward thinking. Like I think there's a lot of parts in this movie that are really cool. Like the character that Kate Capshaw plays, like she is like the best pilot, and she gets passed up to become like the first female pilot or whatever, over to this other guy that is not as good as her, but it's like heavily implied that it's because she's female. And so there's like other times in the movie where they talk about that kind of stuff. So I think this movie was like pushing stuff around, and then to tie in the Cold War and to try to bring Russia and America together, I think this movie was just too ahead of its time for its own good. But I will say Disney knows that people want this movie. And even though this movie is not on Disney Plus, the only way to watch it right now is on YouTube. But they announced in January that they are going to remake this movie for Disney Plus. And I think it's supposed to come out this year, but who knows now? But that was the original plan.
Well, you are most certainly not alone in really, really liking this movie. I know a lot of people that really love this movie. It stinks you can't find it, but I guess just keep on checking Netflix or Amazon, and it'll come up again every now and then, I'm sure. This is one of those movies like Explorers, where everybody likes it. It wasn't my jam, but maybe I should give it another shot, particularly looking for that robot.
Yeah, and see, it's like Flight of the Navigator, I think, has a lot of the same tones that this movie has. So Flight of the Navigator is a little bit more mysterious, but man, there's parts of this movie where they're in space, and I was like, oh, what's gonna happen? Like, it's good, man. I'm telling you.
All right, well, that's Brian's pick. Let's get into one more, and I think you might recognize this little ditty. Ooh. Yeah, I'm glad you killed it right there, because there were some kids in that cast that were not, bless their hearts, they were not great singers.
That was me.
Yeah, I heard you singing along there, buddy. So that, dear listener and viewer, that was Salute Your Shorts, a Nickelodeon classic from the early 90s. Did you watch this one back in the day, Brian?
This was one of my favorite shows when I was a kid. That's why I still remember most of the theme song today, because I have not watched it since I was a kid, but I love this show. I think this came on right around the same time as Hey Dude, because those two are like this to me.
Yeah, they came on like back to back, it seemed, and they were very similar parts of Nickelodeon at the time. What I'm shocked to learn in doing my research, this is another one of those shows where there are far fewer episodes than I thought. You know, like this was on the air, and I guess in reruns until like 1998, but they only had 2 seasons and 26 episodes.
That is surprising.
I don't know how many. I don't know how many times I must have seen the same episode and thought it was a new episode, or just didn't even pay attention. But it was very short lived. So this is a group of young kids at a camp, and again, this is like at an idyllic type camp, very earnest, goes to camp style, living in bunks, in little, out in the woods, and there's counselors and there's unruly teens. And this one hit home because of, like, yes, the show's kind of cheesy, but they nailed like the different archetypes of kids and the different interactions that it felt very authentic as far as like what kids would really do in our generation at camp.
Yeah. The thing with it is, like, the cool thing about summer camp is that you do have like those different groups, and it's very similar to school, but usually you do wind up doing a lot of things together, and it was this TV show definitely captured that feeling of the camaraderie that summer camp kids have together, because you're spending all day every day with these same kids.
So this one, most notably, I guess, had Danny Cooksey as part of the cast, who you would recognize as Sam, I think was his name, on Different Strokes, the redheaded kid that came in later in the series. And then you definitely recognize him as Edward Furlong's friend in Terminator 2.
Yep.
As my daughter was watching the episode that I showed her tonight, she said, "Wow, that kid has the worst mullet I've ever seen."
At least it wasn't a rat tail. At least it wasn't a rat tail.
Oh, yeah. And then also notably in this cast is someone named Blake Sopper, who Brian really likes because he went on to be not only in a TV show called Boy Meets World, but he also went to be a musician. Do you know what musician he is?
I do. He's in the band Rilo Kiley with another 80s icon from The Wizard, where the band is amazing. The first time I saw them was in Gainesville, Florida, I think. So. Yeah.
Not Jenny Lewis. What's her name? I forget. We talked about her before. We did an episode on The Wizard. I can't remember it right now. I'm blanking. That's one of the bad things about doing these shows live. Hey, live and learn. But anyway, they had a different cast of characters, and what was interesting is that in the first season, some of their characteristics kind of changed. Like Budnick was the sidekick to Donkey Lips in the very first episode because he was a lot shorter. They cast him, but then when he got older, he became kind of like the main bully type character, and Donkey Lips, he charmed up a good bit. You had the dweeb kid, you had the athletic girl, you had the the popular girl. They had these different archetypes that met really well with what was happening in our lives at the time, in our school groups and stuff. And I felt like I could be part of Camp Anawana, which I in my research, I cannot believe I didn't realize this today, of why Camp Anawana is named Camp Anawana. Do you know?
I don't know. I can take a guess.
Take a guess.
So it's in the tradition of summer camps having Native American type of names. And then I'm sure it's a play on the words like I wanna or I don't wanna or something like that.
Yeah, it is a play on the words of I don't wanna. So Camp Anawana. I guess it's not a very good camp that they don't want to go to, but I like the show.
All those kids had fun. So
yeah. So one of my favorite episodes, if you're going to check out one episode, I would check out season 2, episode 2, Zeke the Plumber. It's a little creepy if you have young kids, but I really, really liked it. Let's check out a little bit here. This clip. That clip was great. One of the reasons I picked this clip in this episode is because one of the best things to do at camp or when you're camping is tell ghost stories. And this particular episode was about them telling a ghost story about Zeke the plumber, who got burnt to a crisp, had no nose, and had to wear a mask to cover his face. And it was obviously a play on Freddy Krueger. He visited you in your dreams. He knew your worst nightmares. Was burnt. It was really good. And I heard that later in the series' reruns in Nickelodeon's timeline, they actually changed up the episode a little bit because it was too scary for their family-friendly image.
I believe it. You know, that a lot reminds me of some episodes from Are You Afraid of the Dark? Like there's episodes from Are You Afraid of the Dark that, you know, are like really scary to this day. Like it's surprising to me that was on Nickelodeon like that.
This one's not that creepy, I would say, but I definitely loved how Nickelodeon had those shows that had the vibe of like eeriness, of the Are You Afraid of the Dark, or other series like Erie, Indiana, that was on Fox at the time. I love this, and you know, I'd give it a shot. If you didn't watch it growing up, if you're a little older than we are, if the 90s weren't your jam, hey, maybe pop it in for the kiddos and see what they think about taking a trip to Camp Anawanna.
I am so glad we invited the Chippewas to join us for this holiday meal. Remember, these savages are our guests. We must not be surprised at any of their strange customs. After all, they have not had our advantages, such as...
So I'm going to talk over this one because we need to jump ahead a little bit for the really good scenes. But if you recognize that dialogue right at the top of the clip,
I am Pocahontas,
it is Wednesday Addams coming in here from Addams Family Values.
I am Running Bear, betrothed
So
to Pocahontas.
this is a fantastic trip down memory lane in a macabre fashion.
We have brought a special gift for this holiday feast.
Pugsley comes out dressed. Yeah.
I am a turkey. Kill me. What a thoughtful gift.
So this one goes off the rails. Skip ahead a little bit, Brian.
I will.
Okay. Yeah, you were supposed to start that clip later, but this is live, so there were notes in our show notes. But Brian, it's okay. I forgive you.
I'm looking. Keep going.
Addams Family Values is, of course, the sequel to The Addams Family. And this one had one main storyline, which was they had a new member of the family. Gomez and Morticia had baby Pugsley. No, sorry, baby Pubert.
Yes.
And Wednesday and Pugsley were not too happy with the new attention that baby Pubert was receiving. So they attempted to kill the baby multiple ways, and Gomez and Morticia decided it was time to send the kids to camp. And this camp was, this was like straight out of Parent Trap. It was like they sent them back in time almost to like the Catskills, to a time where all the elites sent their kids to go do fun activities, and here come Wednesday and Pugsley, and they are very much different than the rest of the campers.
Yeah, I think it's a cool notion because, when you think of the Addams Family, you think of like gothic stuff, like dark and morbid and that kind of thing. And summer camp is the exact opposite of that. Because when you think of summer camp, you think of the two different counselors in this movie that they're extremely happy and cheerful, and so mixing the Addams Family kids, who are the exact opposite of that, into this and seeing what kind of craziness happens. I don't know what part it was, because when I download it, it doesn't do it to that thing. So is it the part where she talks, where Wednesday is doing her monologue?
She gives them an ultimatum and says that things aren't
Okay.
going to go according to plans.
Okay, I think we're right here. Let's see if this is right.
I cannot break bread with you. Huh? Becky, what's going on? Wednesday! You have taken the land which is rightfully ours. Years from now, my people will be forced to live in mobile homes, on reservations. Your people will wear cardigans and drink highballs. We will sell our bracelets by the roadsides. You will play golf and enjoy hot hors d'oeuvres. My people will have pain and degradation. Your people will have stick shifts. The gods of my tribe have spoken. They have said, do not trust the pilgrims. Especially Sarah Miller. Gary, she's changing the words. And for all these reasons, I've decided to scalp you and burn your village to the ground.
All right, that's good. And all I can say is mayhem ensues.
Yeah.
So that scene, if you are not watching it with us here on Twitch or on YouTube, that scene is Wednesday dressed as a Native American for the traditional Thanksgiving feast as portrayed annually at the camp there, but not sticking to the script. So they went on to go and chase and torture the pilgrims, and it was a great time. It was so much fun to see that in the theaters. Did you see it in the theaters?
I did see this movie in the theaters. I loved the first movie very much, and I like this one a lot too. I think it's great because you know, Wednesday finds love in this film, and so
I know
it's a magical time.
It is. I like this one better than the first one, honestly. I mean, I really like the first one, don't get me wrong. But I like this one better because it did spend a little bit more time with the kids. Christina Ricci is like my exact age. I had a big crush on her. And I really identified too with David Krumholtz's character, just being the awkward outcast. Because I feel like if I had gone to that camp, you know, as much as I had wanted to go to camps as a kid and I didn't get to, and I really liked the idyllic scenes in Parent Trap and Ernest Goes to Camp, I feel like if I actually did go to one of these real camps like that, I would be that outcast kid that was stuck in the corner looking at a serial killer trading cards.
Well, here's the big secret about summer camps. All those kids are that kid, basically. You have some that have more confidence than others, but really, there's no really cool kids at summer camp. So,
yeah. Also in that scene was Christine Baranski. She's hilarious. Peter McNichol. He would go on to play Janosch in Ghostbusters 2. Or actually, he'd already played that, but that's what people might not recognize him from. It was really, really great. Really, really dark, too. They end that scene with the two counselors being roasted on a stake. But so you may wonder, as good as that movie was, why there are not any more Addams Family movies. Well, one, sadly, Raul Julia passed away, and he was the penultimate Gomez in my mind, more than the original 60s John Astin. But the movie was budgeted at $47 million, and it only made $48 million at the box office. So you take away marketing from that, and it was a colossal failure as compared to the first movie that made $113 million. That said, it was number one at the box office when it premiered. But yeah, I don't think they're going to be making any new ones based on that.
Well,
It's a shame.
So I will say they did make another movie. They made a third one. Do you know who played Gomez in it?
Was it Tim Curry?
Yes, Tim Curry. And I love Tim Curry. Like I've talked about my love for Rocky Horror Picture Show. But yeah, I agree. Like he was not the Gomez that Raul Julia was. But have you seen the new animated one?
No, I didn't get to see it. Was it good?
I didn't see it either. I wanted to, but
what a build-up.
I know. Hopefully you saw it. But why do you think this movie did so poorly?
I don't know. Maybe it was fatigue. A lot of good movies were coming out at that time.
Yeah.
Maybe the trailer
93.
wasn't cut good.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I think it's because it focused primarily on the kids instead of like the whole family. Because if you think about the first movie, like the first movie was like nonstop, not just the whole family, but you were learning more about the family because of Fester, like them basically having to reteach Fester everything, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think that it probably was because that the Adams family was not as prominent in this movie as just like the Pugsley and Wednesday were. So yeah, but I think that would make it more of a family film, but who knows? They didn't make a pinball machine of this one, so.
That's right. They didn't make a family values pinball machine. Well, and do you remember what song was really popular after the first movie? It was part of the soundtrack.
Yeah, it's it's MC Hammer. It's not Too Legit to Quit, was it?
No.
Oh, what was it?
It was an Addams Family song. I mean, like it was written for. I think it's called Addams Family.
Oh,
by
maybe.
MC Hammer.
Yeah.
But for part 2, we were graced by Tag Team with the Addams Family Whoomp.
Oh yes, I do remember that.
It's a Whoomp There It Is song with Addams Family lyrics. So maybe that's parallel to the overall quality of this film as compared to the others, but I don't know. I really had a good time with it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it'd be funny if they had like Vanilla Ice do like the song in the sequel. I think it would have been a better pairing.
Well, that's going to wrap up our 4 official picks, but we really had to narrow it down. There's actually a decent amount of camping movies out there of going to camp movies. One that I wanted to do was The Great Outdoors, but I just didn't get around to doing a lot of research on it. But that one scene of John Candy eating the old 96er, it stuck with me for all my life after I saw that movie.
a lot of the John Candy movies, for some reason, like they all run together in my head. Like just the different characters that he played, like he was very funny. Oh, but you know what's funny about that is he had a Saturday morning cartoon, Camp Candy. Do you remember that?
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, see, here we go with the camp theme again. We could do, hey, and maybe we will do a second round of going to camp stories, maybe this summer or next. But yeah, that'd be a good one to look at. Yeah. You had another pick that you wanted to go into that's a little bit more modern.
Yeah, my honorable mention, what came out in 2001. So, I'm still nostalgic for that time period, but Wet Hot American Summer, I think is a hilarious summer camp movie. And I think it was Netflix, right? That did, they let them do the reboot, or I guess not reboot, but the continuation of that story.
Right.
But that movie was such a funny movie, and I watched it a ton when it came out on DVD. So
what I appreciate for Netflix's series is that they went with the original cast, aged 20 years later, and pretend like nothing's happened. Like, just don't even talk about it. Yeah, pretty crazy.
Yeah, the that whole cast for that movie was very, and TV show was very good. And so and you have some people in it, like the guy from he's from some NCIS or something like that show. That's where people don't really know him, but he plays the cook or whatever at the camp, and his character is hilarious. So Casey Jones, what's his name?
What?
Casey Jones.
Elias Codius?
Yeah, wasn't he in some cop show?
I don't know.
Oh, all right.
We should probably do the research before we start these shows.
Well,
don't you think? That might
it's an honorable mention, so I don't have to do the research.
I can name drop people who's the guy from the thing with the name, and he's in that other thing. You know him. People would know him.
I'm very bad at names. Even if it's something that I love, I'm just like I'm really bad with names for some reason. So hey, if I ever meet you and I have trouble remembering your name, that's not your fault. That Brad Pitt, I'm like Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt has a problem where he can't remember people, and his personal assistant
has blindness.
Yeah, I recognize faces. I just don't. I can't associate a name to it. So
okay, all right. Well, that's going to wrap up our segment for going to camp. Stay tuned for future episodes. We're going to be here every week. and we're going to be looking at our Summertime Fun Time series with topics about summer, from everything from summertime foods to going to the water park and a lot of fun in between. If you have a specific idea or something that we missed, shoot us up an email at waybackattackshow@gmail.com or hit us on Twitter or Facebook. We're Wayback_attack on Twitter and Wayback Attack Show on Facebook. Brian, where can they find you?
You can find me at BE Grantham on Twitter, and Preston is at Squared Stiff. And don't forget, tell your friends, man, they can enjoy this show a number of different ways. You can listen to it on your favorite podcast app. We just started being on Podbean, right? Podbean. Yes. If you are a part of that whole deal, make sure you like and let your friends know about it. If you want to watch the show, check it out on YouTube at Wayback Attack also, or now also live on Twitch. So every Tuesday. So
Tuesday Twitch Tuesdays at 10, and then everything it drops for Wayback Wednesday. We'll be back next week, and thanks for checking out the show once again.
Thanks.